Chapter 851. She could almost see Lu Tingxiao from back then. The father and son's problem-solving style was exactly the same, but Xiao Bao was only 5 years old this year. This was just too shocking. Guan Xiao's words caused an uproar. What the hell? This little guy really did it. Not only that, he even received such high praise from Guan Xiao. This was simply unbelievable. But they had all seen Xiao Bao write down the steps of solving the problem with their own eyes. They had no choice but to believe it, compared to Guan Rui's clearly planned act of bringing his grandson to show his face in a high society setting. Xiao Bao's completely unintentional display of skill clearly brought about a greater shock to the crowd. Immediately, everyone surrounded Lu Chongshan. Wow, old Lu. So you're the one who's been hiding the most. No wonder you've been hiding it from us all the time. This grandson of yours is simply a little prodigy. The genes of the Lu family are too powerful. He's a genius. He's not just a genius anymore, okay? He's almost nature-defying. I was still playing in the mud when I was 5 years old. At this very moment, Lu Chongshan was truly unable to describe his current feelings as he listened to the unceasing torrent of praises. It was as if he had finally vented out all the anger that he had suppressed for a long time. Sigh. You've really wronged me. I really didn't know about this. This kid probably learned it from reading books. Qingyu's personality is just like his father's when he was young. He has his own ideas. It's not that I don't want to interfere, it's that I can't. I can only let him be. Lu Chongshan had a helpless expression on his face. You don't need to care about this, he's completely self-taught. This is the truth of the saying, geniuses are all different. As expected of the Lu family. If it weren't for that little maid being ignorant and blurting it out, who would know that this kid is actually so good? Haven't you heard that being low-key is the best way to show off? Today, there's actually someone who dares to say that Guan Zhichen is more talented than Lu Tingxiao. He can't even compare to his 5-year-old son. On the other side, the female customers were even more excited. Their eyes were almost shining as they stared at Little Bun. Oh my god, Lu Tingxiao's genes are too good. I really want to steal his seed. Aya, you're so dirty. How am I dirty? Do you dare to say you don't want to? So what if you stole it? Can you guarantee that you won't drag down the child's IQ? Speaking of which, I'm even more curious about this child's mother. Her genes must be pretty good. As soon as Lu Jingli entered the room, he saw this scene. She calmly took control of the situation and reversed the situation. He was amazed. What the hell? Brother, she's acting skills are superb. Acting like I'm the good guy, you've slapped the Guan family's face swollen. He finally knew why she had to dress like this to hide beside Xiaobao tonight. He finally knew whose home field it was tonight. Little 1111 was determined to help Xiaobao get back at him. Lu Tingxiao, on the other hand, looked calm and collected. He had an expression that said, "Of course my wife is amazing." Lu Jingli suddenly thought of this question and muttered suspiciously, "Little 1111, what if Xiaobao doesn't know how to do it?" Lu Tingxiao glanced at him and then said expressionlessly, "Will my son be so useless?" Lu Jingli, fuck. The lovey-dovey maniac now had another lovey-dovey son. He couldn't go on like this. Chapter 852. After torturing Guan Zhichen, she finally felt a little better. Guan Zhichen, the genius boy, was not satisfied after being taught a lesson by Xiaobao. He found several more so-called more difficult questions to test Xiaobao. Finally, he was taught a lesson by Xiaobao again. In the end, those who had surrounded Guan Zhichen all squeezed to Xiaobao's side, and some even tried to touch the genius to gain some pride, which made Ningxi speechless. What was rare was that little steamed bun was very patient. Even though he was surrounded by so many people chattering away, he didn't show the slightest bit of impatience. His little face was still as calm as the wind. At such a young age, he had an unfathomable appearance, which amused everyone even more. As long as his little hand was held by Mama, there was only Mama in his eyes. It didn't matter to him how noisy others were. I didn't expect Xiaobao to be so awesome. It's said that boys who are good at math are the most attractive. It turns out that boys are also the same. It's so cool. I really want to rub his little face. He's so charming when he keeps a straight face and doesn't speak. Xiao Bao had gained a large number of sister fans, and even several of them clamored to be his godmother. There were even countless of them who wanted to be his godmother. For a moment, Guan Zichen was completely ignored. Seeing that the praise and halo that should have belonged to him were all taken away by this child, the teenager's face became more and more gloomy. Just as everyone was surrounding Little Bun, he suddenly opened his mouth and said faintly, "I read that autistic children often have some special abilities that are different from ordinary people. It turns out that it's true." Guan Zichen's voice wasn't low, so basically everyone present heard what he said. All of a sudden, the warm atmosphere became extremely cold, and everyone had an awkward look on their faces. Hearing Guan Zichen's words, Ning Xi's pupils shrank, while Lu Chongshan felt as if he had been slapped heavily in the face. His gratified expression froze on his face. But this child was Guan Rui's most precious grandson. Even if he was furious at this moment, he couldn't lose his temper. Guan Rui and Guan Xiao also changed their faces in an instant. Guan Xiao hurriedly ran over, pulled Guan Zichen over, and said sternly, "Zichen, what nonsense are you talking about?" Guan Rui's expression was also unusually serious. "Zichen, hurry up and apologize to your brother. Where did you hear all this nonsense from?" It was fine as long as everyone had a tacit understanding about this matter. Telling Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui in private was a sign of concern. However, if they were to bring it up in public, it would be obvious that they were purposely trying to humiliate the Lu clan. Moreover, this matter was Lu Chongshan's reverse scale. Guan Zichen had never been so humiliated, nor had he been scolded in public by his grandfather and aunt. His face was full of indignation. That was what was written in the book. This little boy had autism to begin with. What did he say wrong? Guan Zichen continued to speak loudly, "I'm not talking nonsense. He has autism. Otherwise, why would he not speak? Why is it always this servant who helps him pass on the message?" Guan Zichen lost control of his emotions, and the scene was extremely awkward. Everyone looked at each other and didn't even know what to say to smooth things over. No one had expected things to develop to this point. Guan Zichen had actually revealed the Lu clan's most secretive and shameful matter on such an occasion. Chapter 853. Pa. Guan Rui gave Guan Zichen a heavy slap. "Shut up. I told you to apologize to your brother. Did you hear me? It's fine if others gossip in private, but how could you believe them so easily? Your brother Qingyu is perfectly fine. How does he look sick?" No matter how much he cared about his grandson, he had to say something in order to save the situation. At the same time, an undetectable glint flashed across Guan Rui's eyes. Although Lu Chongshan was a little unhappy with the way things had turned out today, Lu Qingyu could be said to be completely crippled in front of everyone. He had effortlessly helped Zi Yarrow get rid of a successor. However, Zichen had to suffer a little. Guan Zichen didn't come back to his senses for a long time. His face was full of disbelief. "Grandpa, you hit me." Although Guan Rui always looked very strict to him in front of outsiders, he was actually very obedient to him at home. This was the first time he had hit him since he was a child, and it was because of this damn mute. Since Guan Rui had already done this, as an elder, Lu Chongshan naturally couldn't be calculative with a child. It would seem ungentlemanly. His fingers that were holding the walking stick trembled slightly. He said in a low voice, "Forget it. Zichen is young. It's fine. But this kind of words is too hurtful. Zichen, you really should apologize to our Xiaobao." Yang Ruyu looked at her precious grandson, whose hand was held tightly by Ning Xi. She was full of regret. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have let Xiaobao appear tonight. She overestimated the existence of this woman and forgot that there were countless uncertain factors. If she had known this earlier, she would rather hide Xiaobao at home and not see anyone for the rest of his life. She wouldn't want him to suffer these injuries. At most, she would raise Xiaobao for the rest of his life. Guan Xiao knew that Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui wouldn't be calculative on the surface, but they would definitely be very unhappy in private. She hurriedly persuaded, "Zichen, listen to me and apologize to Brother Qingyu. You really made a mistake on this matter." "Yes, Qingyu is your brother. You should love and protect your brother. Mo Lingtian also said. Fuck you, Guan Jichen. What a shitty child. I'm also a child. Damn it, I'm going to beat him up. That old bastard Guan Rui definitely did it on purpose. Lu Jingli couldn't take it anymore. He rolled up his sleeves and was about to rush forward when Lu Tingxiao grabbed his wrist. Brother, what are you doing? Your son and my nephew have been bullied to this extent. Lu Jingli was extremely agitated. Lu Tingxiao's eyes were like a deep pool, quietly looking in the direction of little Bao and Ningxi, not the slightest expression on his face. Guan Jichen couldn't stand that everyone was speaking up for the little mute. She was so agitated that she broke free from Guan Ziao, who was holding her, and shouted, "He's autistic, sick, and mute. If not, then why didn't he say anything? If he can talk to me, I will apologize to him. Otherwise, I absolutely won't accept it. I wasn't wrong." Guan Jichen kept forcing Xiao Bao to talk to him. His crazed voice reverberated throughout the hall. After a long time, Guan Rui had already achieved the effect he wanted. He knew that he couldn't go overboard. Just as he was about to send Guan Jichen home, in the silent air, an apathetic and childish voice slowly rang out, "You're not worthy." That voice was abnormally raw and immature, slightly hoarse and even childish, but it was like a sudden clap of thunder, exploding in everyone's ears. Chapter 854. He spoke. In an instant, everyone present was stunned. Guan Ziao's face was full of surprise. Guan Jichen, who was still yelling just now, suddenly fell silent as if his throat was choked. He actually spoke, this little mute. He actually said that he didn't deserve to speak. The confident expression on Guan Rui's face was completely shattered in an instant. How was that possible? Before he returned to the country, he had already spent a lot of time secretly investigating this child's situation. He confirmed that after the kidnapping incident, this child's condition was very serious, and he hadn't spoken for a whole 2 years. With such poor mental endurance, he just heard the contents of Xiao and Yang Ruyu's conversation, and disappeared without a trace. In that kind of situation just now, not only did he not lose control on the spot, but he actually said those 3 words. In an instant, the situation that was originally a foregone conclusion was suddenly reversed. So handsome. Someone in the crowd let out a cry of surprise. Then, this exclamation was like a switch, and the excited discussion at the scene sounded like boiling water. Oh my god, He was only a 5-year-old toddler. He's so cute, but in that instant just now, he was so domineering, so handsome. I really want to marry him. Why didn't I be born 10 years later? Sob. Lu Tingxiao is too difficult to conquer. There's definitely no hope. I don't know if the little baby mind dating a younger brother. At this moment, Xiao Bao's little face that was like a glutinous rice ball was tinged with a faint arrogance that was 90% of his father's power. After he finished speaking, he didn't even look at Guan Jichen, who was standing there staring at him with wide eyes. He directly held Ningxi's hand, walked through the excited crowd, and calmly left. His small back exuded an extremely powerful aura. Oh. Wow, Xiao Bao is so handsome. Lu Jingli excitedly hugged his brother next to him. Lu Tingxiao's gaze passed through the crowd and met Ningxi's for a second, then immediately reached out to push away Lu Jingli's excited face that was almost kissing him. His cold expression subtly softened a little, and his cold expression was like the first spring snow melting. Am I the only one who feels that it's good to vent my anger? That Guan Jichen really went a little too far just now. Even if he really has autism, he shouldn't have deliberately poked at his wound. He even forced the other party to speak. How could he speak when he was so autistic? Does he get so much pleasure from proving that he's sick? Exactly. What genius youth. What good upbringing. What excellent conduct and learning. Would a child with excellent academic performance be so unforgiving? It was just a question that had been solved by someone else, yet he was so embarrassed that he flew into a rage. Who does he think he is? The entire earth revolves around him. Not only is he narrow-minded, but he's also vicious. How could he do this to a 5-year-old child? The little crown prince is right. He's not worthy at all. Not bad. Fortunately, the rumors were just rumors. Not only was the crown prince fine, but he was also a peerless genius. His IQ and EQ are way ahead of him. Many people couldn't bear the sight of Guan Zhichen's behavior just now. Especially those who saw such a cute child like Xiaobao being bullied. Their motherly love instantly overflowed, and they criticized Guan Zhichen's character one after another. Chapter 855. Guan Rui had planned to take this opportunity to destroy Xiaobao. However, he did not expect to go for wool and come home shorn. Not only did it not affect Xiaobao at all, but it also caused Guan Zhichen to be hated by others. Guan Rui came back to his senses in time. He looked at Lu Chongshan with a troubled expression and said earnestly, "Brother Lu, I'm really sorry about this. My Zhichen is still young, and he's too straightforward. Once he's set his mind on something, he's stubborn to the end. I've told him so many times, but he just can't change it. His teacher always says that his stubborn personality may be a good thing in academics, but it's a big problem when it comes to interpersonal relationship." After Guan Rui said that, Guan Zhichen's arrogant, immodest, and intolerant personality became insistent and straightforward. Lu Chongshan was still immersed in the great shock and joy of his baby speaking. However, he knew that he could not show too much surprise, or else he would be tacitly admitting that Xiaobao was autistic like everyone else. Hence, he maintained a calm expression. "Haha, Brother Guan, you're too serious. It's also my Qingyu's fault. His personality is exactly like his father's, except that he doesn't like to talk since he was young. We rarely hear him speak at home, so it's no wonder that Zhichen would have this misunderstanding." Lu Chongshan said. It could be considered as taking this opportunity to clarify the outsider's speculations about Xiaobao, and also to prevent anyone from making a fuss about Xiaobao not speaking in the future. However, Lu Chongshan directly ignored Xiaobao's impolite words of "you're not worthy." He did not have the slightest intention of apologizing. "Very well done." As expected of Lu Chongshan's grandson, "Sai, since it's a misunderstanding, it's good that it's cleared up. Yes. Some people out there like to make trouble out of nothing. Children are young and lack the ability to distinguish between things. Furthermore, they're innocent, so it's inevitable that they'll make mistakes easily." The slippery guests all began to smooth things over. Guan Zhichen also apologized under Guan Rui's stern warning gaze. Lu Chongshan's original fury had vanished into thin air because of Xiaobao's earth-shattering words. He was in a good mood and did not want to cause any unpleasantness on such an occasion. Thus, he generously let this matter pass. At the same time, Guan Xiao was holding Yang Rui's arm and explaining guiltily, "Auntie, I'm so sorry for what happened today. Although our Ji Chen has always been very strict, he was also spoiled by everyone since he was a child, just like Xiaobao. This was the first time he was beaten since he was born. He was so sad that he said something like that in a moment of excitement. It was really unintentional. Auntie, please don't take it to heart." As Guan Xiao spoke, she called Guan Zhichen, who had tried her best to persuade him, over. Guan Zhichen lowered his head to hide the anger and unwillingness in his eyes. "Grandma Lu, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. I really didn't do it on purpose." Yang Rui looked at the red handprint on Guan Zhichen's face and sighed. "All right, don't blame yourselves. It's fine now that the misunderstanding has been cleared up. Xiao, take Zhichen to get some ice cubes. Your father was a little too heavy-handed." Hearing that Yang Rui's tone had softened, Guan Xiao was slightly relieved. She nodded and left with Guan Zhichen. Although the Lu family would definitely not pursue this matter on the surface, there would definitely be a knot in their hearts. It seemed that she had to make her father restrain himself during this period of time. Chapter 856. In fact, when her father said that he wanted to bring Ji Chen along, she didn't quite agree. After all, with Xiaobao's condition, it was inevitable that he wanted to show off by bringing Ji Chen along. However, her father said that they needed a chance to show off since they had just returned to the capital after such a long time. Moreover, she could show off the Guan family's genes in front of the Lu family, which would benefit her in the future. That was why she agreed. Initially, they thought that Xiaobao wouldn't show up today. Even if he did, he would only show his face. Who knew? Things would get out of their control. What went wrong? That woman's face flashed across Guan Xiao's mind. From dressing up as a maid to staying at the birthday banquet to pretending to bring Xiaobao here to solve a problem. She wasn't stupid, she clearly had a plan. She had a plan to embarrass them. She and her father had underestimated the enemy and made the wrong assumption. Guan Rui naturally thought of this as well. The father and daughter looked at each other, and for a moment, they both tensed up, not daring to let their guard down. Who knew what that woman would do tonight? Xiaobao recovered so quickly. Was it all because of that woman? Guan Xiao murmured with a frown. Guan Rui's face darkened. That woman went to a diploma mill in China. I don't know what she did to get into USC. However, when he was at USC, he only majored in acting, which was not a popular major. How could she treat a child that even a psychologist like Qin Mufeng couldn't do anything about? Look at that child's temperament and tone of voice. Which part of him looks sick? Although he didn't want to admit it, he had to admit that this child was much better than Ji Chen. In time, he would definitely surpass his father, Lu Tingxiao. No wonder Lu Chongshan and Yang Rui doted on such a good seedling. The worst thing was that the Lu family felt guilty towards the Guan family because Lu Tingxiao had a son and a girlfriend. The Guan family had always been in a dominant position. Now that the situation was reversed, he had to keep his tail between his legs and curry favor with the Lu family for a long time to come. As for that child, he could only think about it at length. As the birthday banquet came to an end, the guests presented their gifts one after another. Guan Rui heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the gift he prepared this time was heavy enough. Brother Lu, I know you like calligraphy and paintings. I accidentally discovered this cursive calligraphy of Wang Shiji when I was overseas. When I saw it, I immediately thought of you, so I spent a lot of effort to get it. You'll definitely like it, Guan Rui said confidently. Lu Chongshan was a master of calligraphy and painting. He was very accomplished in both calligraphy and painting. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was obsessed with it. This painting was definitely sent to the bottom of his heart. As expected, Lu Chongshan received it carefully and looked at it repeatedly, before revealing an astounded expression. Brother Guan, your gift is too precious. Lu Chongshan couldn't be blamed for his exclamation. These were all priceless items in the market, and many of them had ended up in foreign countries. To be able to obtain them, other than power and wealth, luck was also very important. Being able to encounter one was something that could only be chanced upon. Guan Rui smiled carelessly and said, Brother Lu, you're too polite. With our relationship, there's no need to say that. Money can't buy a good heart. Besides, this thing isn't that expensive. I was just lucky to find it. Chapter 857. Just as Guan Rui expected, the crowd exclaimed in surprise when they saw the priceless ancient calligraphy. Are you kidding? That's not expensive. Isn't this the calligraphy that was auctioned for 150 million in Zurich? Looks like the Guan family is doing well in the foreign market. It's not just doing well. Didn't you see how close Guan Xiao is to Yang Rui? I think they're going to join forces. Ah, it couldn't be, right? Didn't I hear that Lu Chongshan wants to marry into the Zhuang family? The Zhuang family has always married into a military family, right? No matter how big the Lu family is, they're still businessmen. I don't think it's possible. Seeing that Guan Rui had given such an expensive gift, Lu Chongshan's expression softened a little. Of course, what he was looking forward to the most was Xiaobao's gift. Xiaobao, didn't you say you have a gift for Grandpa? What is it? Lu Chongshan asked nervously and expectantly. Xiaobao raised his head and looked at Papa and Memar beside him. Lu Tingxiao gave a look to the servant, and soon, a servant walked up with 2 rolls of rice paper, ink, and paper. For a moment, everyone looked over with interest. It seemed that the little prince wanted to write a piece of calligraphy for his grandfather. Although filial piety was hard to come by, this birthday gift seemed a little too ordinary in comparison to the exorbitant price of Guan Rui's calligraphy. Ningxi helped Xiaobao grind the ink quietly, while Lu Tingxiao and Lu Jingli each opened a roll of rice paper and stood in front of Xiaobao. At this time, people gradually noticed that the little maid had prepared 2 writing brushes. Could it be a backup? Then, Xiao Bao used his two short hands to pick up a writing brush. He looked at the rice paper in front of him and calmed himself down. Then, the writing brushes in his hands landed on the rice paper on both sides at the same time. What was he doing? Everyone looked at each other, their faces full of suspicion. In the end, Xiao Bao started writing with both hands at the same time. His left hand wrote "Fortune is like the East Sea," and his right hand wrote "Longevity is like the South Mountain." After they saw clearly what little Bao was doing, a wave of gasps rose and fell in the surrounding. He can actually do two things at once. And it's written so well. A 5-year-old child actually managed to write the bone-penetrating force. Have you all forgotten that Lu Chongshan is a calligraphy master himself? My grandson won't be too bad. Oh my God. I'm so shocked that I'm numb. This child is blessed by the heavens, gathering all the essence of the Lu family. Xiaobao's calligraphy was personally taught by Lu Chongshan. However, he only knew that Xiaobao's calligraphy was pretty good, but it was the first time he knew that Xiaobao had the ability to multitask. What was even more shocking was that Xiaobao's wrist did not have much strength in the past. Even if the words he wrote looked good, a slightly professional person would be able to tell that it had form but no bones, and did not have any strength or momentum. However, in just a few short days, little Bao's handwriting had actually become so bold and forceful, and it truly shocked him greatly. At the same time, he looked at Ning Shi with even more bewilderment in his eyes. Originally, he had been worried that letting Xiaobao be with this woman would have some negative effects, but he did not expect that not only could Xiaobao gradually speak, but even his physical fitness had improved so much. He was almost certain that Xiaobao had undergone systematic training during this period of time. Otherwise, it was absolutely impossible for him to write like this. Chapter 858. Lu Chongshan was a little worried when he saw that Xiaobao was going to write for him. Because of his attainments in calligraphy, everyone had high expectations for Xiaobao. In addition, Xiaobao had given everyone a high impression of being a genius, so it was inevitable that everyone would be more harsh on him. However, they did not expect that the result would be such a pleasant surprise for him. He was filled with gratification that he had a successor. This surprise was thousands of times stronger than the precious calligraphy that Guan Rui gave him. Good calligraphy. Just as the guests were exclaiming, a powerful voice suddenly came from behind. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw a middle-aged man in a military uniform striding over from the gate. The man was tall and straight with a determined face. It was the general of the Zhuang family, Zhuang Liaoyuan. Chief Zhuang, sorry for not going out to meet you. Sorry. When Lu Chongshan saw him, he immediately greeted him with a face full of smiles. Chairman Lu, don't mention it. I was busy with the army, so I'm late. Please forgive me. Zhuang Liaoyuan also said politely. Of course, it's business. Chief Zhuang, please come in. Zhuang Liaoyuan walked straight to the calligraphy that Xiaobao had just written. After a closer look, he was full of admiration. This calligraphy was written by your grandson? Yes. It's a birthday gift from my grandson. Lu Chongshan looked proud. Zhuang Liaoyuan glanced at the little boy beside him and nodded. That's rare. At such a young age, he can write so well. Chairman Lu, this child has learned all your skills. Zhuang Liaoyuan was talking with Lu Chongshan. When he accidentally saw Ning Shi beside Xiaobao, he couldn't help but be stunned. Ning Shi also recognized Zhuang Liaoyuan, but it was not appropriate to talk to him in this situation. She could only pretend that she didn't know him and continued to lower her head. Zhuang Liaoyuan also came to his senses and quickly recovered his surprised expression. However, when his eyes fell on Lu Tingxiao, his eyes instantly turned cold. Because of the arrival of Zhuang Liaoyuan, the atmosphere in the banquet hall became lively again. After all, such a prominent red family was the target that many people wanted to make friends with. Most importantly, such a top-notch aristocratic family rarely interacted with other wealthy families. It was only on occasions like Lu Chongshan's birthday banquet that he could show his face. It was a rare opportunity for him to speak. As for Guan Rui, his nerves immediately tensed up. He also knew that the Zhuang family and the Lu family had the intention of getting married, so he wanted to quickly think of a way to test the intentions of their biggest competitor. Deep into the night, the birthday banquet finally came to an end, and the guests left one after another. Xiao Bao followed Lu Tingxiao to see the guests off, and Ningxi went to the small garden alone to get some fresh air. He was sitting on the swing, holding his chin as he excitedly recalled the domineering and handsome scene of Xiao Bao. Suddenly, he noticed that someone seemed to be slowly approaching from behind. Moreover, he could tell from the sound of the footsteps that it was a martial artist. Thus, Ningxi stood up with a whoosh and looked behind her warily. In the next second, his vigilance turned into astonishment. It was Zhuang Liaoyuan. Why did he come here? He couldn't possibly be here to look for her, right? That boy treated you like this. Ningxi was puzzled. Zhuang Liaoyuan suddenly looked at her and said. When Zhuang Liaoyuan said this, the expression on his face looked very displeased and even a bit cold. Ningxi was confused by this sudden question. Chief Zhuang, who are you talking about? Was he talking to her? Chapter 859. Zhuang Liaoyuan's sharp eyes looked up and down at her servant's attire. There was obvious anger in his eyes. Lu Tingxiao, you are his girlfriend. Why do you have to dress like this for his father's birthday party? Ningxi froze for a long time before she realized what Zhuang Liaoyuan meant. She hurriedly explained, no. It's not like that. Chief Zhuang, you misunderstood me. It's a long story. Anyway, he didn't ask me to dress like this. He doesn't intend to disclose your relationship. Zhuang Liaoyuan still looked serious. Ningxi frowned slightly. This kind of personal question. Wasn't it a bit too much? However, looking at Zhuang Liaoyuan's determined face and his kind eyes, Ningxi hesitated for a moment before replying, the main reason is because of my current profession. That's why I can't disclose it to the public. You should know that as an actress, you have to do a lot of things. Zhuang Liaoyuan looked a bit relaxed and then said, I saw your movie. You acted very well. Ningxi's eyes widened. What, did you watch my movie? Is it The World? Zhuang Liaoyuan nodded. Yes, you played the female general. Very good. It took Ningxi a long time to recover from her excitement. She blushed and said gratefully, Thank you for your compliment. She had thought that Zhuang Liaoyuan would look down on her after knowing her profession, but to her surprise, he didn't look down on her at all. He even said that he had seen her movie and praised her for her acting. Moreover, his expression was very serious. It didn't seem like he was faking it at all. He really thought so. You didn't use a stunt double in this movie, did you? Zhuang Liaoyuan asked with certainty. Ningxi nodded and answered embarrassedly, Yes. I didn't know you were a martial artist, right? Zhuang Liaoyuan asked with interest. When it came to acting, the atmosphere suddenly became relaxed. Ningxi's mood also relaxed, and she inadvertently opened the conversation box. No, I just practice. Before I officially became an actress, I was a martial arts stunt double. When I played small roles abroad, I often played similar roles. Abroad, Chinese kung fu is highly respected, so they often need some Eastern roles with good kung fu. It's not easy for a girl to struggle in a foreign country at such a young age. Zhuang Liaoyuan sighed in his heart. With this child's condition, if she wanted to earn money and make a living, there were countless ways, but she chose the most bitter and difficult one. Ningxi couldn't remember how long it had been since someone cared about her like this. She was touched and smiled. No, acting is my dream. I do what I like to do, so it's not hard at all. Zhuang Liaoyuan nodded in agreement. Fair enough. This child is really not bad, and his attitude is also very good. Zhuang Liaoyuan's expression became even more approving. Then he said seriously, Girl, you are a smart person. I think you should know that a family like the Lu family isn't very suitable for you. I won't say anything else. Just remember, if you change your mind one day, you can come to me at any time. I have many outstanding single young men here, and all of them are good men. I'm sure you'll like one of them. Ningxi was a little dumbfounded. Zhuang Liaoyuan's tone was like I have so many good young men for you to choose from. Quickly abandon Lu Tingxiao. Chapter 860. Could it be that she had misunderstood? Zhuang Liaoyuan's tone seemed to say, I have so many good young men for you to choose from. Quickly abandon Lu Tingxiao. Ningxi was in a dilemma about how to return to Zhuang Liaoyuan when her waist suddenly tightened. She was caught off guard and was pulled into a firm embrace. Then, a cold voice sounded from above her head. General Zhuang, it's not the behavior of a gentleman to ruin a marriage for no reason. Ningxi, oh no, the devil, had arrived, and she had also heard what Zhuang Liaoyuan had just said. Ningxi swallowed a mouthful of saliva. She suddenly felt that her neck was very cold, and a gust of cold air was drilling into it. She subconsciously struggled, trying to avoid some of the cold. In the end, her waist was immediately gripped even tighter, and she almost couldn't breathe. Thus, she decisively curled up and didn't dare to move anymore. Zhuang Liaoyuan's expression was calm as he looked at the gloomy man in front of him. I seem to have only said, in case she changes her mind. Ningxi didn't have to look to know how terrible the devil's face was. She quickly said, Ahem, thank you for your kindness, Chief Zhuang. My boyfriend and I love each other very much. I won't change my mind. There won't be a day when I have to break up with him until the world is no longer there. The moment she finished speaking, Lu Tingxiao's arm that was holding her obviously relaxed a little. Zhuang Liaoyuan sighed and glanced at her. In the end, he didn't say anything. He only said, if you need any help, you can contact me at any time. Come to the shooting range when you're free. Oh, okay. Thank you, Chief Zhuang. Seeing that Zhuang Liaoyuan had left, Ningxi finally breathed a sigh of relief. She turned around and was about to speak to Lu Tingxiao. However, her tongue was suddenly blocked by a man's breath, and she felt an overwhelming invasion of the man's breath. Ningxi felt that there was less and less air in her chest. The worst thing was that this wasn't a kiss, but a bite. She felt a sharp pain on her lips and her tongue was kissed until it was numb, until Ningxi let out a muffled groan because of the pain. His lips then turned into a gentle soothing, gently massaging the place that was abused by him just now. However, as long as she had the slightest intention of struggling, the other party's actions immediately became crazy again. There seemed to be someone walking towards them. Ningxi anxiously pulled away Lu Tingxiao's big hand that was gradually reaching into her maid costume and pushed his chest, blocking his lips from kissing her again. She said in a serious tone, No. What if someone sees it? After all, today was not a private banquet, and there were too many people. Besides, several little maids seemed to have recognized her and asked her if she was the actress Ningxi. In the darkness, the man stared at the girl in the maid costume in front of him. His eyes seemed to be suffused with the light of a wild beast. He faintly said, So what if I see it? I see you. I'll bite you to death if I see you. Ningxi glared at him. When it came to matters of principle, she definitely wouldn't give in an inch. Seeing the girl glaring at him, the man's dangerous and cold eyes suddenly revealed a somewhat aggrieved look, like an injured beast. Finally, he pressed her hard into his arms, buried his head in her neck, and said in a muffled voice, When can I tell everyone that you are my... Chapter 861. Ahem, this. Ningxi also felt a little guilty, so she quickly softened her tone and touched his back. There will definitely be such a day. Don't worry. Ningxi, I once said that the only thing you need to consider is whether you love me or not. Now, my words are still valid. As long as you agree, you will be my wife. No one and nothing can stop you. Lu Tingxiao was promising her that no matter his family or anything else, it would never affect his decision. I know. Don't listen to Zhuang Liaoyuan. He doesn't know the situation. He may think that you deliberately don't want to disclose our relationship, so he said those words. Well, by the way, what did Zhuang Liaoyuan mean by saying those words to me today? Ningxi asked in confusion. After the shooting range last time, he may have secretly investigated your identity. Lu Tingxiao answered, and a glimmer of darkness flashed across his eyes. Ningxi frowned. You mean, he found out that I am the adopted daughter of the Ning family, or he knows that I am his niece. So he came to care about me. But the Zhuang family doesn't even recognize Zhuang Lingyu. How can he care about me? It was completely illogical. Can't you see that Zhuang Liaoyuan likes you very much? Lu Tingxiao said in a displeased tone. It was the feeling of being coveted by someone else as his treasure. He was extremely unhappy. Oh, really? Ningxi was a little surprised. She just felt that Zhuang Liaoyuan was quite gentle to her. Because of your talent in shooting. His son is useless, so he pinned his hope on you. He may even want to recruit you into the army. So, you'd better stay away from him. Lu Tingxiao warned her seriously. Oh. Ningxi nodded. I told you last time that I would never join that army. Besides, there is no freedom in that place. If I don't see you for half a month, I will miss you so much. Until now, Lu Tingxiao's frosty face softened a little. He hugged her, kissed her lips, and fixed his eyes on her. Ningxi, remember what you said today. I won't give you any chance to change your mind until that day comes. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I disturb you? Lu Jingli covered his eyes with his fingers, looking as if he was not looking at something indecent, if only his fingers weren't so wide open. Lu Tingxiao, yes? Yes. It seemed like someone was causing trouble. Brother, you'll know once you take a look. After a while, Lu Jingli, Lu Tingxiao, and Ningxi stood outside the yard. He saw a large bouquet of black flowers placed at the entrance of the courtyard. Under the light, he could vaguely see the sparkling dewdrops on the flowers, reflecting a cold light and an ominous aura. This is. Looking at the bouquet of flowers, Ningxi frowned. If I'm not mistaken, this flower is black datura? Lu Jingli nodded. That's right. Aren't you trying to pick a fight by giving her a black and inauspicious flower on her birthday? Ningxi's eyes flickered, and she subconsciously glanced at Lu Tingxiao, feeling inexplicably uneasy. She recalled the flower language of the black datura. Revenge, was she thinking too much? Chapter 862. At this moment, Lu Tingxiao's face was expressionless. No one knew what he was thinking. Should we check the surveillance footage? Ningxi asked tentatively. Lu Tingxiao tapped on his phone a few times and pulled up the surveillance footage. After watching it several times, they realized that the bouquet of flowers had appeared out of thin air. Ningxi frowned. A part of the surveillance footage was deliberately erased. Otherwise, how could these words appear out of thin air? It was obvious that someone had tampered with the footage. Lu Jingli snorted disdainfully. Insignificant tricks. How dare you play this trick in front of my brother? Lu Tingxiao clicked on his phone a few more times. He seemed to be running some kind of software. After a few minutes, he clicked on the surveillance footage again. This time, a figure finally appeared in the video. In the video, a man was approaching from afar. The man was wearing a black shirt and black pants, almost blending in with the night. He was holding a large bouquet of black flowers as he slowly walked towards the door. He bent down and put down the black datura. He stood up and looked at the bustling crowd in the yard. The lighting was dim and the man was wearing a black mask, so they couldn't see his face clearly. They could only see a blurry shadow. He stood there for a long time in silence. A moment later, the man suddenly raised his head and looked straight at the surveillance camera. From their point of view, it was as if the man was looking straight at them from the video, exuding an evil and arrogant provocation. After a glance, the man turned and left. A few black petals fell from his body and his figure disappeared into the dark night. Brother, I've checked. It's just a bouquet of flowers. There's nothing dangerous. I guess it's just a prank. Lu Jingli said. Lu Tingxiao picked up the bouquet, glanced at it, and put it in Lu Jingli's hand. Throw it away. Oh. Lu Jingli nodded. Lest old master sees it. Ningxi subconsciously glanced at the darkness behind her and followed Lu Tingxiao. What kind of person is this? Why would he send such flowers on such a day? Don't mind him. He's just a bored person. Lu Tingxiao patted her head, as if he didn't care about it at all. At this time, a panting voice came from behind, and a little maid anxiously said, "Young master, so you're here. Master and old madam invite you over." "Okay," Lu Tingxiao said and said to Ningxi, "Wait for me. Don't run around." Yes, I know. Go now." After Lu Tingxiao left, Ningxi stared blankly at the gate for a while. This kind of small matter of sending flowers to disgust people was naturally not worth mentioning to Lu Tingxiao. However, the man in the monitor just now, why did he give her an inexplicable feeling of familiarity, in the study? Come, have a seat. Lu Chongshan didn't waste any more time and asked impatiently, Tingxiao, Lil Bao's wrist strength seems to have improved tremendously. His gait and posture have also changed, and his spirit is much better than before. Did he do any training during this period of time? Yes, I hired a teacher for him, Lu Tingxiao answered. Xiao Bao is willing to learn? So far, I'm doing pretty well. I see. Good. Lu Chongshan nodded his head with a gratified look. Chapter 863. By the way, Tingxiao, are you living with Xiaoxi now? Yang Ruyi asked casually. Lu Tingxiao said, no. Yang Ruyi looked a bit helpless, but then she looked as if she had expected it. She knew her son wouldn't be so fast. Alas, with her son's character, even if he dated her, it would be a long time before he could get her. Yang Ruyi stopped thinking and immediately suggested, are you afraid of being photographed by reporters? Why don't you buy her a detached villa? At that time, you and Xiaobao can also live there. Lu Tingxiao took a look at his mother. Yang Ruyi also knew that she seemed to have changed her attitude a little too quickly. She coughed lightly and said, what I mean is, both of you are usually so busy, especially that girl. In this line of work, she gets up early and goes to work late. Who would care about Xiaobao? It's more convenient for you two to live together. When the time comes, I'll send a few trustworthy servants to deliver it to you. Isn't that great? Lu Chongshan seemed to agree with her and said, put the villa under her name. She has been taking care of Xiaobao for so many days, so it's only right for her. The two of them had acknowledged Ningxi's influence on Xiaobao and hoped that she could spend more time taking care of and teaching Xiaobao. However, they still couldn't be completely at ease, so they proposed to assign a few servants to him. In fact, it was a kind of surveillance. No, we're fine now. Lu Tingxiao knew what they meant and refused. Lu Chongshan frowned. How is it fine now? Xiaobao can't see you when you're busy, and even when you see him, you have to do it secretly. That's why I said there's something wrong with her career. She can do something else after she retires. Yes, wouldn't it be better if she could resign and focus on taking care of Xiaobao? We won't mistreat her. Lu Tingxiao was silent for a while as he watched his parents echo each other. Then he said unhurriedly, so, Mom and Dad, do you want her to be a full-time housewife after resigning? Lu Chongshan and Yang Ruyi were dumbfounded upon hearing those words. Full-time housewife. Full-time housewife. They clearly meant that the woman should be Xiaobao's nanny and tutor. This brat clearly knew about it, yet he purposely said such words to stop them. Lu Tingxiao, if that's what Mom and Dad want, I can consider it. Yang Ruyi said helplessly, Tingxiao, there are so many beautiful and outstanding girls out there. Why do you have to choose her? In the past, he thought that his son didn't like women. Now that he was sure that he could like girls, why couldn't he like other girls who were more outstanding and more worthy of him? Xiao is hundreds of times better than her in terms of family background and knowledge. Lu Chongshan's face was also filled with displeasure. Lu Tingxiao stood up, straightened his sleeves, and turned to leave. Before he left, he paused and said, I can only be hard on her. Lu Chongshan, Yang Ruyi, Lu Tingxiao turned around expressionlessly and added, if you still want a granddaughter, please treat your granddaughter's future mother well. After he finished speaking, he walked away, leaving Lu Chongshan and Yang Ruyi dumbfounded on the spot. Chapter 864. After a long while, the two elders finally snapped out of their daze. This rascal. How can he talk to his parents like this? Yang Ruyi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She looked at Lu Chongshan anxiously and asked, Chongshan, do you think Tingxiao is telling the truth? How would I know? Lu Chongshan said angrily. The more I think about it, the more I think it's possible. Otherwise, why would your son be so devoted to that woman? Lu Chongshan's face darkened and he didn't say a word. Indeed, if Lu Jingli had said something that sounded like a bluff, he would have slapped him across the face. However, it was his eldest son who said it. Given his condition all these years, it did seem plausible. 5 years ago, They had been too worried and used some extreme measures, which worsened his condition and made him more averse to women. Perhaps there really were unforeseen repercussions. Yang Rui seemed to have thought of something and suddenly became a little excited. She paced back and forth in the room excitedly and said, "Ah, a granddaughter. If only I could have another granddaughter. That girl is so beautiful. The girl she gives birth to will definitely be very beautiful. Xiaobao won't be lonely anymore and will have a companion." Lu Chongshan's face darkened as he listened to Yang Rui's rambling. "What are you talking about?" In fact, although he said that, his expression was one of extreme yearning. He had never had a daughter in his life. His sons were more worrisome than the one before. Needless to say, he yearned for a considerate girl. If he could really have an adorable granddaughter. No, stop it. He couldn't fall into that rascal's trap. However, Lu Tingxiao's move was too ruthless. He had completely pinched the two elders' weak spot. Once he mentioned his granddaughter, he couldn't stop looking forward to it. Oh my adorable granddaughter, at the Platinum Palace. Ningxi carefully placed Xiaobao, who had fallen asleep on the road, on the bed and tucked him in. Ningxi lay on the edge of the bed and stared at Xiaobao's soft, fair face. She couldn't get enough of it. "Lu Tingxiao, our baby is so handsome tonight, isn't he?" Lu Tingxiao said, "Yes, whatever I want." Looking at Lu Tingxiao's serious expression, Ningxi almost laughed out loud. Yes, up to you. Thanks to you, I almost couldn't control myself when Guan Zhichen said that he couldn't say anything decent. Fortunately, you winked at me. But what if Xiaobao didn't say anything in that case? Ningxi asked. Lu Tingxiao, go for another DNA test. Ah. Ningxi was speechless. Lu Tingxiao's son couldn't possibly be so useless, right? He was quite confident in his own genes. There's no need for that now. Xiaobao is indeed your son. Like father, like son. Hey Ningxi. Lu Tingxiao suddenly stared at her. Yeah, what's wrong? Lu Tingxiao seemed a little hesitant, but in the end, he still said, do you mind? Mind what? Ningxi was puzzled. Xiaobao isn't your biological son, Lu Tingxiao asked, looking a little nervous. Ningxi blinked her eyes and blurted out without thinking, how could I possibly mind? Even if Xiaobao isn't your biological son, I wouldn't mind at all. Chapter 865. She liked Xiaobao because he was Xiaobao. It had nothing to do with who gave birth to him. She didn't know why, but she liked him. She liked him from the first time she saw him. She felt happy and satisfied just by looking at him. Hearing Ningxi's answer, Lu Tingxiao was speechless. Fine, he didn't ask. Oh yes, Lu Tingxiao, what did your parents talk to you about last night? Ningxi was sure it had something to do with her. Therefore, he was more or less concerned about it. Lu Tingxiao glanced at her and answered, we talked about our daughter. Huh? We don't have a daughter, damn it. Did you lie to them that I'm pregnant? How am I going to get a child for them? Ningxi looked nervous. Lu Tingxiao said, no. Before Ningxi could breathe a sigh of relief, Lu Tingxiao continued, I said I can only be hard on you. If they want to give Xiaobao a sister, they can only rely on you. So, they have to treat you well. Ningxi was dumbfounded. What? Damn it. You're even more exaggerated this time. He might as well say she was pregnant. Lu Tingxiao looked at her darkly. I didn't lie. Ningxi narrowed her eyes. Oh, no. Have you tried it with other women? Lu Tingxiao said, no need. Then how do you know? You can only do it with me. Besides, if you can't be hard on other women, where did Xiaobao come from? Ningxi thought of this crucial question. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Tingxiao's face darkened, as if he had been reminded of something taboo. Ningxi knew he didn't like this question, so she had never mentioned it. She didn't pay attention today and blurted it out. Well, I was just asking. You don't have to answer me, Ningxi said hurriedly. Everyone had things they didn't want to talk about, so she never cared about Lu Tingxiao's past. Lu Tingxiao pinched his forehead and stayed silent for a while. After a moment, he looked at her and sighed softly, saying, I've never touched a woman. My parents were very worried about this, and they even suspected that I liked men. When I proved to them that I didn't even like men, they seemed to be even more worried. 5 years ago, they teamed up with Jing Li to drug me and gave me a woman. I don't have any memories of that time, but I only had that one time. So, Xiao Bao should have been there that time. After hearing this, Ningxi's eyes almost popped out. She didn't expect that Lu Tingxiao's first time would be so tragic and miserable. This is too much of a scam. No wonder Lu Tingxiao didn't want to talk about this. For a man, this kind of thing was really hard to talk about. Moreover, from Lu Tingxiao's tone, it seemed like he had been given a large dose of drugs. He didn't even have the ability to move, so the situation at that time couldn't have been. He was the one being raped, right? Cough cough cough. I can't continue thinking about the suppressed Great Demon King. After that, not even medicine has any effect on me, Lu Tingxiao said coldly. Ningxi, cough, it seemed like he was traumatized. How tragic. In fact, before I met you, I always thought I was asexual, Lu Tingxiao said. Ningxi raised an eyebrow. Asexual? Lu Tingxiao nodded and pulled her into his arms. So, without a doubt, you are my one and only. Chapter 866. Before the shooting of Ningxi's new movie, Lin Jiji helped her to shoot a magazine cover, attend several brand ribbon-cutting events, and attend fashion banquets. She spent the rest of her time in the studio. She had invested all her money in the studio. Now that her career was on the right track, she could finally get out of poverty. In addition, the studio had also stopped losing money and started to make a profit. Looking at the balance on the card rising little by little, Ningxi felt incomparably satisfied, and at the same time, she was even more motivated. After finishing a job in the morning, she immediately rushed to the studio in the afternoon. She was busy with her work when a troublemaker came. Damn it. Jiang Mui, I'm really busy today. Can't you see that I'm preparing a project? I have to go to a very important client tomorrow morning. She was speechless that Jiang Mui actually came looking for her in the studio. Hey, where's your professional attitude? Where's your sense of responsibility? You didn't even go to the premiere of your own movie. You only know how to do your part-time job. Jiang Mui said indignantly. Ningxi was speechless. Bullshit. I only made a cameo appearance in that movie for a few minutes. Jiang Mui was referring to the movie in which she had made a cameo appearance in His First Love, which had just been released. She had never seen him so enthusiastic before. He only went to the world because she had reminded him. This time, he was crazy. Not only did he want to go in person, but he also dragged her along. That was enough. In the end, Ningxi was dragged to the premiere of the movie. We Are 18-inch was one of the more popular youth-themed films in the market recently. The youthful school background, the combination of a famous director and a little fresh meat, as well as sufficient investment and overwhelming publicity, meant that the box office would not be too bad, even if the film's shooting period was less than a month. Sure enough, with the help of Jiang Mui's extraordinary popularity, the cinema was almost full. Jiang Mui was full of pride from beginning to end. Do you feel my popularity? Ningxi lowered the brim of her hat, leaned back in the chair, and glanced at him. Golden Retriever, as a friend, I still want to remind you that you can change your career. Are you going to be an idol for the rest of your life? Jiang Mui squinted at her. What else? Look at this brother's natural-born idol face. If I insist on saying that I have strength, would anyone believe me? Even if I fought with my life on the line and really relied on my strength, people would still say that I relied on my face. I can't be bothered to torment myself. Ningxi wanted to comfort him, but the next second, he said, this is the trouble of being too handsome. Ningxi didn't say anything. Soon, the movie began. Back then, Shen Mion's first film, Stars, Moon, and Sun, was the pioneer in youth films. Later, Love in the Future continued to shine. Therefore, Ningxi originally had high hopes for this film. However, she almost fell asleep when she read the latter part. Although she had noticed that Shen Mion's films had been too commercialized in the past few years, every one of them had its own merits. However, this novel was completely created for the sake of creation. Under the guise of youth, for the sake of conflict in the plot, cliché plots such as abortion, love triangle, and cheating were abruptly and deliberately mixed in. There was almost nothing new to speak of, not to mention the positive energy that should be conveyed to the young audience. Chapter 867. How was this a teen drama? It was more like an 8 p.m. soap opera. She was so embarrassed. The audience wasn't stupid. Halfway through the movie, some of them couldn't help but leave the theater. Most of the people who were left were complaining. What the hell? What the hell is going on in this movie? Moaning and groaning. Does a teen drama have to have an abortion, cheating on a girlfriend, and betraying the male lead? Can't they be more creative? I can't believe Shen Mion made this movie. And Jiang Mui, is he possessed by Ma Jingtao? How can he be so careless? I thought he had improved a lot after watching his latest movie, The World, and I was looking forward to it. I don't understand what this movie is trying to say. The male lead is a scumbag for the sake of being a scumbag. Just because he can't forget his first love, he made the female lead abort the abortion and did nothing about it. Is he even human? I'm so disappointed. Why did Mu Yi accept this movie? I can't watch it anymore, even if it's because of his good looks. Jiang Mui became more and more silent as he listened to the insults around him. He didn't even need to look to know that his face was dark. She didn't say anything. She just patted his shoulder to comfort him. As the movie was coming to an end, the audience's anger reached its peak. Trash. Give me back my money. I thought Su Yimo's cold and expressionless star ocean was bad enough. I didn't expect this movie to be so despicable. I think there's something wrong with the script. It's bullshit. The whole movie is just torture for the sake of torture. The male lead is still a scumbag. Is this a tragic ending? I won't give a single star. In the movie, the female lead was so disheartened that she finally left. The male lead was drunk and stumbled to a tombstone. Basically, the audience knew that it should be raining at this time. Sure enough, in the movie, it rained from the grey sky. The male lead knelt in front of the tombstone. Then, the scene changed and a memory was inserted. Seeing this, she sat up a little straighter. Damn it, after waiting for so long, it was finally time for her pitiful few minutes of scenes. In the ward, the male lead's first love was on her deathbed. The girl was wearing a white dress and leaning in the boy's arms. Her long black hair contrasted with her pale and frail little face, but there was a bright smile on her face that was as bright and beautiful as the first sun in winter. Her eyes were unbelievably clean, just like an angel who had fallen to the mortal world. This kind of extreme weakness and extreme purity and beauty formed an extremely sharp and even cruel contrast. On the big screen, the moment the image switched to the girl, almost everyone couldn't help but gasp because of the surprise and amazement. Previously, the male protagonist's first love had always existed in their conversations. It had never appeared in front of them, so the audience actually did not have a sense of immersion. It wasn't until this scene that the audience suddenly began to understand why the male lead couldn't get over it after so many years. No matter which man it was, after experiencing such a woman, it was likely that he would not be able to fall in love with any other woman. Later on, the moment the girl closed her eyes, there was a lingering smile on her face, as well as her love for the boy. It was so beautiful that it didn't seem to be in this world. Chapter 868. In this scene, Jiang Mui held the girl in his arms and cried. He didn't say anything, nor did he make any sound, but it was very touching. He was so sad that he felt as if the whole world was collapsing in front of him. Many people in the audience had tears in their eyes. Finally, the ending of the film was many years later. The male and female leads met at the corner of the street, leaving an open suspense. In fact, almost no one paid attention to the ending. They were still immersed in the emotion of Jiang Mui's crying. Okay. I take back my words. You don't have to pay for the ticket. Jiang Mui's crying at the end is worth the ticket price. Sob, sob, sob. I cried so much. My Mui's acting skills are not bad. My Mui's acting skills are excellent. The point is that his first love is amazing. It's just like my dream girl. She's like the white moonlight in every man's heart. I finally understand what this film is trying to express. Every man will have 2 women like this in his life. If he marries the red rose, the red one will become a mosquito's blood on the wall, while the white one will still be the bright moonlight in front of the bed. If he marries the white rose, the white one will become a rice stick on his clothes, while the red one will become a cinnabar mole on his heart. Jiang Mui was silent all the way out of the cinema. What do you think of this film? After a long time, Jiang Mui suddenly asked. Ning, she touched her chin. Do you want to hear the truth? Forget it. I don't want to hear it, Jiang Mui said impatiently. Ning, she looked at him speechlessly. He was even more fickle than a woman. This film was originally made to make money. You know it yourself. It can't be helped. I can only say that you are a little unlucky. Shun Mion was especially not in the right state when she was shooting this film. In fact, you were not very focused either. Of course I know. As long as I can make money, why should I care so much? Anyway, even if I make the film, the fans will still buy it. Jiang Mui said, his face gradually darkening. I used to think so, but recently I suddenly feel that it's quite boring. I really want to beat you up. You got something that others might not be able to get in their entire lives without any effort. You can easily get tens of millions of yuan for a film. Even the fans will buy it. Be content with what you have. You're not like me, who treats acting as a career. It's fine as long as you're happy. Ning, she didn't persuade Jiang Mui to take it seriously. In any case, everyone had their own pursuits and way of life. There was no need to force anyone. Jiang Mui still looked as if he had nothing to live for. Why do I need to earn so much money? So what if so many people like me? It's meaningless. The person I like doesn't like me. Who would spend the money they earned? Bye-bye. I don't see money as dirt as you do. I'm going to go back and stay up late to work on the project, read the script, and work hard to make money. Get lost. Will you die if you don't show off your love? Fuck. Which word was I showing off my love just now? Every word. Jiang Mui, you're crazy. Ayaya, my dear boss, why hasn't he come back from his business trip? I miss him so much. This is called a public display of affection, understand? Finally getting rid of Jiang Mui, who seemed to be going through menopause, Ning, she returned home. As soon as she opened the door, she found that the lights in the house were on. Then she saw Lu Tingxiao sitting on the sofa with a laptop in his hand, working. Chapter 869. Ning, she was pleasantly surprised. She threw her bag on the floor, kicked off her shoes and ran over to him barefoot. Boss, you're back. Lu Tingxiao put the laptop on the coffee table and took it from her carefully. He put it on his lap. I brought you a present. I don't need a present. You're the best present. Lu Tingxiao chuckled. Did you smear honey on your lips? Do you want to have a taste? Lu Tingxiao's eyes darkened. I remember, your legs have fully recovered. Ning, she's nerves tightened. She laughed dryly. No, I still have scars. Take a look if you don't believe me. Lu Tingxiao looked at her helplessly. Have you used the scar remover I gave you? This girl, every time she flirted with him, she would be terrified the next second. I use it every day. I don't have a scar, so I won't have any scars. Don't worry. Did you go to the movies? Lu Tingxiao looked at her and asked. Damn. How did you know? Ning, she looked surprised. Lu Tingxiao glanced at one of the bags she had thrown on the floor. It was a small gift for the movie premiere. The name of the movie was printed on the bag. Oh, yes, with whom? Ah. Jiang Mui. Ning, she felt it was better not to lie in front of the devil. It's all for work. I made a cameo appearance in his new movie. What role? Damn. Why did the great demon king ask such a crucial question? Ning, she coughed. First love. Before Lu Tingxiao's face changed, Ning, she continued, we only appeared for a few minutes before we died. Whether it was in the last movie or this one, neither of us had a good ending. We were miserable. Although Ning, she felt that her explanation was actually quite childish, it was quite effective. Lu Tingxiao's expression immediately eased a lot. By the way, have you seen Xiaobao? Ning, she asked hurriedly. I came straight here after I got off the plane. Damn. What kind of father are you? Ning, she said with some melancholy. Alas, Xiaobao hasn't spoken since he said you're not worthy at the birthday party. I'm so worried. Lu Tingxiao glanced at her and said calmly, ultimate skills often have cooldowns. Phut. Hearing this, Ningxi's eyes almost popped out. Sir boss, you even know this. Do you play games too? The description was simply too incisive. I dabbled in it a little. In fact, he had been learning online language and gaming terminology for the sake of having a common language with her. The next morning, Ningxi woke up early in the morning and checked over the information she had prepared for a long time. She changed into a smart and capable outfit and then set off for the headquarters of SF Company. Her target was one of the big clients. SF is a retailer that deals in high-end luxury clothing and is also the distributor of many well-known brands. Many designers make their works known to people through their brand agency stores. For this reason, Ningxi made an appointment half a month in advance. During this time, she kept reading professional books to learn negotiation skills and related knowledge. She also sacrificed her beauty sleep to stay up for several nights to prepare the proposal. Hello, I'm Ningxi, the person in charge of Ziyiling's studio. I've made an appointment to come over this afternoon to talk with Boss Wang about the agency. Chapter 870. Ziyiling Studio, did you make an appointment? The little secretary at the front desk frowned slightly. Yes. Wait, let me see. The secretary flipped through the appointment list. Oh, there is such an appointment, but CEO Wang is overseas on a business trip. He is not here. What? Business trip? Ningxi's expression changed slightly. Even if there was an emergency, shouldn't he at least inform her in advance? For this morning, she had even pushed off an appointment with Lin Jiji, but the little secretary opposite her did not look apologetic at all. While busy with her own work, she casually replied, "Come again next time." Then, when is the next time? When is CEO Wang coming back? Ningxi asked again. I'm not sure. Wait for my notice. The other party dismissed her with just a few words. After preparing for so long, she had to make another appointment from the beginning. Although she knew it would not be so easy, she did not expect to see the person in person. It was impossible not to feel frustrated. She had no choice but to wait. By the riverbank, Ningxi enjoyed the breeze for a while before her gloomy mood improved a little. Just as she was about to return home, she turned around and saw an old man standing by the railing not far from her. The old man had a cane in his hand. His hair was white, but his back was tall and straight. His back was not stooped at all. At this moment, the old man was staring at the sea, as if there was something on his mind. Ningxi only felt that this person's aura was a little special, so she took a second look. She did not pay much attention to him and continued walking forward. At this moment, an ancient default ringtone sounded. The old man picked up the phone, and then the old man's expression suddenly changed. Not only that, but his expression became more and more painful. Soon, he could not hold on any longer and fell to the ground. Ningxi watched the scene unfold, and reflexively rushed forward to help the old man up. Old sir. Sir. How are you? The old man clutched his chest, his face turning purple. His breathing became more and more rapid, and in the end, he was almost out of breath. It looked like he was having a heart attack. Ningxi was about to ask if he had brought any medicine with him, but in the next second, she saw a small white bottle roll from the old man's trembling hand to the ground and roll into the river. Before her brain could react, Ningxi's body reacted on its own. With a splash, she jumped over the railing into the river and fished out the small white medicine bottle before it sank into the water. After climbing ashore, he unscrewed the lid without delay and poured out a few pills. How many? Fortunately, the old man was still clear-headed and mouthed 3. Ningxi immediately fed him the medicine, and then did some simple first aid based on her memory. Finally, after a while, the old man's complexion gradually recovered. Ningxi was wet all over. The river water and sweat mixed together. Seeing that the old man finally recovered, she breathed a sigh of relief. Sir, I'll take you to the hospital. No, no need. The old man refused intermittently, and his attitude was very firm. Little girl, please, send me to Chang'an Road. Number 7. You really don't need to go to the hospital. But you. Don't worry, my body. I know what I'm doing. Little girl. Sorry to trouble you. Hurry. Seeing that the old man's attitude was really insistent, Ningxi could only drive the car over and then drove to the address that the old man said. When she was about to drive to the place, Ningxi was slightly stunned. Chang'an Road? Wasn't this the military compound? Chapter 871. Sure enough, as soon as Ningxi reached the door, she was stopped by a guard in military uniform. Please show me your pass. Ningxi could only turn to look at the old man in the back seat. Sir, the old man panted and said, let her in. The guard was shocked when he saw the person in the back seat. He replied loudly, yes. Then he quickly opened the door. Ningxi did not know the way, so she followed the old man's instructions and drove to the entrance of a quaint house. Then, she helped the old man out of the car. She could feel that the old man was very weak because of his illness. If not for her support, he might not even be able to stand properly. She did not know what had happened at home, but he insisted on coming back. While he was helping the old man up the stairs, he suddenly heard the sound of a gunshot. The sound came from inside the house. Ningxi was shocked, and her expression suddenly became fierce. At the same time, she was more worried about the old man beside her. If he was agitated, it would be terrible if his illness acted up again. The old man's expression also changed. He quickened his steps and pushed the door open. The next second, Ningxi saw that in the hall of the house, a 17 or 18-year-old boy had fallen to the ground in a sorry state and was trembling. The girl beside him was holding him tightly in her arms, her face full of panic. Dad, are you crazy? A few steps away from them, a middle-aged man dressed in military attire held a gun in his hand and pointed it at the young man who was being protected by the girl. His face was filled with rage and his expression was extremely gloomy. There was no doubt that he would shoot the young man in the next second. Looking at the girl and the middle-aged man with the gun, Ningxi was stunned. Zhuang Ku-er. Zhuang Liaoyuan. Then this old man is. Ningxi subconsciously turned to look at the old man she was supporting. The old man looked at the scene in front of him and roared loudly, Bastard! Put the gun down. Grandpa! Grandpa, save me. My dad wants to kill me. The boy scrambled over and hugged the old man's leg. Ningxi thought that the old man was going to protect his grandson, but when the old man saw the boy, he unceremoniously kicked him. Bastard! What did you promise me the last time? It's only been a month, and you actually beat someone up and sent him to the ICU for a woman. The reputation of our Zhuang family has been ruined by you. What do you mean I snatched a woman? It was clearly that brat who snatched my woman. I was so angry that I found someone to reason with. Shut up. You haven't even grown your hair yet, and you keep talking about women. The old man hit the young man's back with his walking stick. Give me the family discipline. When the young man heard this, he could only scramble and hide in Zhuang Ku-er's embrace. Sister, help me. Help me. I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I'm also injured. My leg hurts so much that it's about to break. Why do you only know how to scold me? Zhuang Ku-er was extremely nervous. Grandpa, Rongguang's body is weak. Last time you whipped him, he almost lost his life. You can't fight anymore. Zhuang Liaoyuan was like a living king of hell, expressionless as he said, eat the bullet, the family rules, choose one. Zhuang Rongguang looked at his grandfather and then at his father. Gritting his teeth, he pushed Zhuang Ku-er away and ran towards the door. By the time Zhuang Liaoyuan reacted and tried to stop him, it was already too late. In the next second, Zhuang Rongguang fell flat on his face. Fuck. Who the fuck tripped me? At the main entrance, Ningxi slowly retracted her wet foot. She looked calm and said, Sorry, my legs are too long. Chapter 872. Out of politeness, Ningxi didn't enter but just stood at the door. So Zhuang Ku-er and Zhuang Liaoyuan didn't notice her until now. She was dressed in women's clothes, so Zhuang Ku-er didn't recognize her. Zhuang Liaoyuan was surprised to see her. Zhuang Zongren was annoyed to see Ningxi. Ku-er, quick! Take this lady upstairs to take a hot bath and change into clean clothes. I was sick by the river just now and the medicine fell into the river. It was this child who jumped into the water to pick it up and sent me back." Then he glared at Zhuang Rongguang, who was lying on the ground. "If it weren't for this child, I'm afraid I wouldn't have come back alive." Hearing this, Zhuang Ku'er was grateful. "I see. Miss, thank you so much. It's so cold. Come upstairs with me to change clothes." Ningxi didn't care. "It's okay. I'll go back and change." "No way. You must change your wet clothes as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will catch a cold." "I'm so stupid. I was so focused on teaching him a lesson that I forgot he was wet." Zhuang Zongren felt guilty. "Your health is important. Go with Ku'er," Zhuang Liaoyuan said seriously. Since the other party said so, Ningxi couldn't refuse and could only nod in agreement. "Then I'll have to trouble you." While Ningxi was talking with Zhuang Zongren, the boy at Ningxi's feet rolled his eyes and got up to run out. But Zhuang Liaoyuan had already called someone over. Two young men in military uniforms directly dragged Zhuang Rongguang in from each side. When passing by Ningxi, Zhuang Rongguang glared at her. "Bitch. I." Before he finished his words, he was slapped by Zhuang Liaoyuan. "How dare you?" Zhuang Liaoyuan's aura was terrible when he was angry. And if Zhuang Zongren hadn't stopped him, he might have shot him again. Zhuang Rongguang didn't dare to say a word and was taken in silence. "Excuse me." When Zhuang Liaoyuan turned to Ningxi, his expression became gentle. "Ahem, nothing, nothing." Ningxi coughed and hurriedly followed Zhuang Ku'er upstairs. Behind her, Zhuang Zongren looked in the direction Ningxi had left. Leaning on his walking stick, he let out a long sigh, his eyes filled with envy. "I wonder what kind of family can raise such a good child." Zhuang Liaoyuan glanced at his father but did not say anything. "This girl has good skills. When she jumped down to help me pick up the herbs, it only took her less than 5 seconds. Zhuang Zongren sighed. "His marksmanship is even better." Zhuang Liaoyuan nodded. "Why? Do you know him?" Zhuang Zongren asked. "I've met her twice. She's Lu Tingxiao's girlfriend. No wonder you told Jing Shu not to think about the marriage with the Lu family after you came back the last time." Upstairs, Zhuang Ku'er took Ningxi to her room. "Go in and take a shower. I'll help you find a change of clothes." "Okay, thank you. Don't mention it. Our family should be thanking you." Ningxi went into the bathroom, took off her wet clothes, and took a bath. When she came out in her bathrobe, Zhuang Ku'er had already prepared a full set of clothes for her. There was also a bowl of ginger soup on the table. She was a careful girl. Chapter 873. Zhuang Ku'er was startled to see Ningxi come out after washing her clothes. Ningxi, who had just showered, was wearing loose pajamas. Her naturally curly black hair was slightly wet, and her body exuded a rosy glow. As a woman, her heart couldn't help but race a few beats when she saw her. Zhuang Ku'er was stunned for a while before she came back to her senses. She hurriedly said, "Well, our underwear should be about the same size, so I found mine for you. But they're all new, and I haven't worn them before. So are the clothes. And this ginger soup, drink it quickly." "Okay." After a while, Ningxi changed her clothes. Holding the warm ginger soup, she felt much more comfortable and didn't want to move at all. Zhuang Ku'er's room was very cozy and comfortable. The main color was warm yellow, with a lace quilt and a warm velvet carpet on the floor. Zhuang Ku'er's dressing style was also ladylike, so she found a light pink dress for Ningxi and a camel coat that went over her knees. The material was very warm. Seeing Ningxi hugging the bowl and curling up like a cat, Zhuang Ku'er smiled. "Feeling better?" Ningxi nodded. "By the way, my name is Zhuang Ku'er. You can call me Ku'er. I haven't asked your name yet." Zhuang Ku'er looked at her and asked thoughtfully. Ningxi saw that there was something wrong with her eyes, and her heart was beating fast. Did she recognize her in men's clothes? She murmured, "My name is Ningxi." Just as Ningxi finished speaking, Zhuang Ku'er immediately said with a knowing expression, "It's really you. Are you the actress who played Meng Chang'e, Ningxi?" "Ah, yes." So it was because she recognized her as an actress. She was shocked. "Last time, I dragged my dad to the cinema to watch it with me. He usually only watches anti-Japanese war movies. At first, he was reluctant, but after watching it, he really liked the role you played in it. Thank you. Can you give me an autograph? Zhuang Ku'er said as she ran to find a book. The last time she saw Zhuang Ku'er at Lu Jingli's villa party, she was still quite arrogant and cold. She didn't expect her to be a soft girl in private. As Ningxi was thinking, Zhuang Ku'er had already brought a pink book and pen over. Ningxi couldn't refuse her kindness, so she had to give her an autograph. Just as he was about to return the book to Zhuang Ku'er, a photo suddenly fell out of Zhuang Ku'er's book. Ningxi picked it up and was about to return it to Zhuang Ku'er when she was dumbfounded the next second. Motherfucker, the person in the photo, wasn't it her? Moreover, she was dressed as a man. Taking a closer look, the background in the photo, as well as the way she was dressed, was most likely taken on the day of Lu Jingli's party. From the angle, it was obvious that the photo was taken secretly. Give it back to me. When Zhuang Ku'er saw this, she immediately snatched it back in embarrassment. She looked extremely nervous. Ningxi was still in a daze. She couldn't describe her feelings at all. She could not help but recall the conversation she had with Zhuang Ku'er. I know I'm not in a position to ask, but, is it true? You and Lu Tingxiao really have that kind of relationship? So what if it's real? So what if it's fake? If it's true, then I give up. Originally, I was determined to get Lu Tingxiao. It's because of you that I gave up. I won't fight with you. What a tragedy. Did she accidentally hit on Zhuang Ku'er when she was dressed as a man? Chapter 874. Thinking of this, Ningxi couldn't help but ask, is the man in this photo yours? Zhuang Ku'er stared at the man in the photo with sparkling eyes and said proudly, this is my idol. Isn't he super handsome? Yes, he's quite handsome. Ningxi laughed dryly. Unfortunately, no matter how handsome he is, he already has a boyfriend. Ahem. Ningxi choked. Zhuang Ku'er glanced at Ningxi and sighed. Say, why do all the handsome men have boyfriends these days? Ningxi couldn't answer. Do you know who my idol's boyfriend is? Zhuang Ku'er asked mysteriously. Ningxi shook her head innocently. I don't know, who is it? He's my previous blind date. He's crazy. That's a trap. Ningxi looked surprised. Zhuang Ku'er rested her chin on her hand and mumbled, my family has introduced me to a few blind dates before, and all of them are soldiers. My father is a soldier, my grandfather is a soldier, my great-grandfather is a soldier, and my great-grandmother is also a soldier. I really don't want to marry a soldier anymore. Can you understand how I feel? Ningxi nodded repeatedly to show that she understood. Later, my mother finally arranged for me to meet a man who wasn't a soldier. At that time, I was actually quite satisfied, even though he didn't seem to be very interested in me and didn't even want to meet me. But that's the challenge, isn't it? So, one time, his brother had a party, and I went, trying to create an opportunity to get along with him. Then, at that party, I met my idol. At that time, I accidentally sprained my ankle and almost fell into the swimming pool. Many people were waiting to see me make a fool of myself. At the thought of being embarrassed in front of so many people, I really wanted to die at that moment. But at that time, my idol appeared. You don't know how handsome he was, Zhuang Ku'er said, grabbing Ningxi's arm and shaking it excitedly. Ningxi, I know, I'm often stunned by my own handsomeness. Zhuang Ku'er's cheeks were red and her eyes were sparkling. She looked like a diehard fan. And he was very gentle and attentive. When he saw that I had sprained my ankle, he applied ointment on me, and I immediately fell in love with him. In the end, I found out that he and my blind date were a couple. He actually liked men. I'm sorry, I seemed to be a little excited. Zhuang Ku'er finally realized that she had lost her composure. She quickly let go of Ningxi's hand and returned to her standard lady sitting posture. It's fine, Ningxi said casually and touched her nose guiltily. Zhuang Ku'er looked at Ningxi embarrassedly. I'm not a very likable person. I don't have many friends since I was a child. I don't know why, but when I saw you, I felt very close to you. I even felt that I had seen you somewhere before, so I couldn't help telling you more. Ningxi looked at the girl gently and said with a chuckle, how could it be? Miss Zhuang is very cute. After all, with her family background, Zhuang Kuer's temperament was inevitably a little arrogant. She always had a dignified attitude and always had a perfect posture in front of others. Naturally, she gave people a feeling that it was difficult to approach her. Chapter 875. However, Ningxi felt that no matter what kind of girl she was, she had a cute side. It just depended on whether you could find it or whether she was willing to show it to you. Looking at Ningxi's serious expression when she praised her, Zhuang Kuer's heart skipped a beat. Is that so? Of course. Miss Zhuang, she is my… What? Zhuang Kuer tilted her head. Nothing. Ningxi shook her head and took back her words. She is my type. She looks cold and tough, but she is delicate and soft inside. She is a typical tsundere. She is one of her favorite girls. By the way, are you acting in any new shows recently? I want to see them. Zhuang Kuer asked with interest. Recently, I only made a guest appearance in our 18 for a few minutes. Other than that, there are no other shows. But the new show has been confirmed. If everything goes well, it will start shooting soon. They chatted for a long time until someone knocked on the door. Zhuang Kuer opened the door. Dad, have you changed your clothes? Yes, it's done. Mr. Zhuang, sorry to bother you. Ningxi got up and thanked him. Ningxi was about to say goodbye when Zhuang Liaoyuan suddenly said, Miss Ning, if you have nothing to do today, why don't you stay for a while and leave after dinner? That's not necessary. It's too much of a bother. Ningxi declined. Not at all. Not at all. You have helped us so much. We should treat you well. Don't stand on ceremony. Besides, I still have a lot of things to tell you. Zhuang Kuer held her arm intimately and looked at Ningxi with a trace of nervousness in her eyes. It was rare for her to have a friend that she could talk to. She was reluctant to let her go. Well, if you don't agree, we will be very sorry. Ningxi couldn't bear to refuse a girl's request, so she finally agreed. Okay then. At this time, Ningxi's cell phone rang. She looked at the caller ID. It was Lu Tingxiao. Sorry, I have to take this. Ningxi walked to the balcony. Hello. Are you done? Want to have dinner together tonight? Well, I don't think I can do it tonight. Ningxi was talking to Lu Tingxiao. Suddenly, there came a roar downstairs. Open the door. Let me out. Let me out. I'm not a criminal. Why should I be locked up? Why? Is there still law? Where are you? Lu Tingxiao clearly heard Ningxi's voice. The corners of Ningxi's mouth twitched as she listened to Zhuang Rongguang's howls downstairs. She explained to Lu Tingxiao, it's a long story. Didn't I go to talk to a client this morning? In the end, I waited for a long time, but it was empty. I could only go back first. When I passed by the river, I met an old man who had a heart attack. Then, Ningxi didn't dare to tell Lu Tingxiao that she had jumped into the water to look for medicine, so she made up a story. Then I helped him find the medicine, fed it to him, and sent him home. Now he wants me to stay for dinner to thank me. What's so great about being an admiral? Just because you're a general, you can just shoot and lock people up. This was a democratic society. I demand proper personal freedom. Even if you're my father, you have no right to lock me up. Zhuang Rongguang was still howling downstairs. Chapter 876. Hearing the voice, Lu Tingxiao heard the word general and recalled the useless son of the Zhuang family. He was a bit surprised. You saved Zhuang Zhongren? Ningxi scratched her head and said, Yes, I didn't know it until I saw Zhuang Kuer and Zhuang Liaoyuan at home. It seems that Zhuang Rongguang made trouble again. Grandpa was stimulated by the phone call and got sick. I was going to leave, but I couldn't refuse your kindness. I'll pick you up tonight. Ah, that's not necessary. I'll drive myself. Do you think I'll let you stay with Zhuang Liaoyuan alone? Lu Tingxiao's voice was cold. Ningxi, she remembered that Zhuang Liaoyuan said he would introduce her to a boyfriend. That devil was so vengeful. Soon, the Zhuang family was having dinner. It was a traditional Chinese round table with a sumptuous meal. Only Zhuang Zhongren, Zhuang Liaoyuan, and Zhuang Ku were at the table. I asked Mrs. Zhong to prepare some dishes for you. I don't know if they suit your taste. Zhuang Zhongren was very kind. They are all delicious. Ning, she said hurriedly. Then eat more. Lass, you look too skinny. Grandpa, I'm an actress. I need to go on a diet. I can't eat too much. How can I? It's not good for my health. Zhuang Zhongren said disapprovingly. Ning, she said hurriedly, it's okay. I don't go on a diet. I just eat normally because I exercise a lot. Well, that's right. Nothing is more important than your health. I'm hungry. I'm starving. I want to eat. I want to eat. Did you hear me? Are you going to starve me to death? Am I really his? The room was filled with ghostly wails and wolf-like howls. Ning, she coughed, feeling a bit embarrassed. Zhuang Zhongren put on a straight face and put some food in Ning Shi's bowl. Don't mind him. Zhuang Ku thought he had gone too far this time, so she suppressed her heartache. Zhuang Liaoyuan pinched his eyebrows and said bitterly, I'm sorry. I can tame any soldier, but I can't even control my own son. At the mention of Zhuang Rongguang, the atmosphere at the dining table became a little gloomy. After all, it was a family matter, so Ning she didn't want to interrupt. Looking at Zhuang Liaoyuan's frustrated face, she thought about her words and said, teaching a son is different from leading an army. Especially for a boy, it's inevitable that he will be rebellious at this period. Zhuang Ku sighed softly, but how could there be such a troublemaker like him? He's only 18 years old. He smokes, drinks, skips classes, fights, and gambles. He doesn't learn the good, but he doesn't learn the bad. We've tried everything, but he still refuses to repent. Forget it, let's not talk about him. Let's eat. Yes, let's eat. Little Shi, try this fish. It's wild and very fresh. When dinner was almost over, an orderly ran over and whispered something into Zhuang Liaoyuan's ear. Zhuang Liaoyuan glanced in Ning Shi's direction and then whispered a few words to the orderly. A moment later, he heard familiar footsteps behind him. Ning Shi turned her head subconsciously and saw the orderly come in with a man. It was Lu Tingxiao. At the dining table, Zhuang Liaoyuan looked in Lu Tingxiao's direction and snorted unhappily. Why are you in such a hurry? Do you think I'll eat him? Chapter 877. This is. Zhuang Zhongren looked sharply at the tall man in a black suit opposite him. General Zhuang, sorry to disturb you. I'm Xiaoxi's boyfriend. Oh, the boy from the Lu family. You're here to pick up Xiaoxi, aren't you? Zhuang Zhongren suddenly understood. Yes. At this moment, Ning Shi had already stood up and walked to Lu Tingxiao. Sir, Uncle Zhuang, thank you for your invitation. I'm leaving now. Zhuang Liaoyuan snorted and said nothing. Zhuang Zhongren thought that Zhuang Liaoyuan was dissatisfied with the fact that Lu Tingxiao and Ku had failed to reach an agreement. Zhuang Zhongren did not think much of it and said, go ahead. Take care. At this time, Zhuang Ku, who had been silent since just now, suddenly stood up. The chair rubbed against the ground, making a harsh scratching sound. Lu Tingxiao, you're too much. Following Zhuang Ku's angry roar, everyone's eyes fell on her in an instant. Zhuang Zhongren looked displeased. Ku, don't be rude. Zhuang Liaoyuan frowned and a trace of suspicion flashed across his face. Based on his understanding of his daughter, even if Lu Tingxiao chose another woman in the end, she would never be so impolite as to question him face to face. Zhuang Ku ran over and pulled Ning Shi to her side. Xiaoxi, don't believe him. He's lying to you. He liked men from the very beginning. After all, in front of so many people, no matter how angry Zhuang Ku was, she didn't want to expose Ning Shi's secret in public. She could only look at Ning Shi anxiously. Anyway, Xiaoxi, believe me, he's not a good person. He's two-timing. What? Zhuang Zhongren and Zhuang Liaoyuan both looked shocked. Lu Tingxiao didn't show any special expression, but slightly raised his eyebrows and his eyes fell on Ning Shi. Ning Shi held her forehead and felt her head was about to explode. Well, Ku, this is actually a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding. I saw it with my own eyes. Xiaoxi, you must believe me. Zhuang Ku looked at Lu Tingxiao as if looking at a scumbag. Ningxi looked at Zhuang Zhongren, Zhuang Liaoyuan, and especially Lu Tingxiao. Can I talk to Ku alone? There are some things I need to explain to her. Originally, he was hoping that he could get away with it, but it seemed like this misunderstanding had to be cleared up. Hearing this, Zhuang Ku couldn't have asked for more. She immediately pulled Ningxi upstairs to her room. Downstairs, Lu Tingxiao raised his head slightly and watched as Zhuang Ku dragged his wife into the house. His expression didn't look too good. Why did everyone want to steal his wife? At this moment, Zhuang Liaoyuan looked at Lu Tingxiao sternly. Last time, he felt that he and Guan Ziao had an ambiguous relationship. Did he really do something to Xiaoxi? Upstairs, Zhuang Ku pulled Ningxi to sit on the bed and said solemnly, Xiaoxi, what I'm going to say may be very hard for you to accept. You must be mentally prepared. Ningxi stroked her forehead. What I'm going to say may be hard for you to accept. I hope you're mentally prepared. Then I'll speak first. All right, go ahead. Ningxi was already thinking about how to tell her the truth that her idol is actually a woman so that the blow to her would be less severe. Chapter 878. Xiaoxi, I don't know what Lu Tingxiao told you, but I can tell you that he doesn't love you. Zhuang Ku took a deep breath and said, because Lu Tingxiao doesn't like women at all. He likes men, and he already has a boyfriend. His boyfriend is my idol that I told you about before. He's just using you to cover up his true sexual orientation. I know this sounds ridiculous, but please, you must believe me, because… Ningxi interrupted her, Lu Tingxiao's boyfriend is me. Because I saw it with my own eyes. What did you just say? Zhuang Ku looked at her in astonishment. I said, Ku I was the man at the party that day. What are you talking about? Zhuang Ku looked like she didn't understand what she was talking about. Ningxi deliberated over her words and explained, that day at the party, the man surnamed Tang was me. At that time, Lu Jingli invited me to the party. I was worried that Lu Tingxiao's son would cause unnecessary misunderstandings, so I dressed up as a man for convenience's sake. I didn't think that something unexpected would happen after that, and everyone would misunderstand that Lu Tingxiao and I had that kind of relationship. Wait a minute. You mean Mr. Tang is you? You dressed up as a man? Zhuang Ku tried to sort out her thoughts. Yes. Zhuang Ku didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Xiaoxi, you're really obsessed with Lu Tingxiao. I know you might want to protect him. Don't worry, I haven't told anyone about this. I didn't want you to be deceived today, so I couldn't help telling you. How could you be Mr. Tang? I saw him with my own eyes. Ku I am indeed him. Ningxi's heart almost collapsed. She didn't have a place to change into men's clothes. How could she explain this mess? Zhuang Ku sighed and looked at Ningxi, who was wearing a light pink dress and had waist-length hair, as if she was looking at a silly girl who had lost her mind because of love. 1111, don't be so stubborn. You are so beautiful and so excellent. Why do you like a man who doesn't love you at all? I don't discriminate against homosexuals, but it's too much to use innocent women to cover up sexual orientation. Okay, Ku you said that Lu Tingxiao likes men and already has a boyfriend. Call that man out and confront me face to face, then I'll believe you. Ningxi knew that it was impossible to convince Zhuang Ku just by talking, so she stared at Zhuang Ku and said. Zhuang Ku frowned. This. I don't have Mr. Tang's contact information. Ningxi nodded. Okay, you can't call it out, right? But I can. Zhuang Ku what? The moment her voice fell, Ningxi, who was sitting on the edge of the bed, suddenly twisted her body. The next second, Zhuang Ku was pressed down on the bed by her arm. 1111, you. In the blink of an eye, although Ningxi was still wearing a ladle-like dress, whether it was the expression between her brows or the temperament of her body, they had all undergone a tremendous change. Ningxi supported herself with one arm on the side of Zhuang Ku's body in a standard bedside posture. The gentleness and modesty between her eyebrows had completely disappeared. Instead, she looked fierce and careless. She lowered her voice and said in her ear, Now, who am I? Even at this moment, Ningxi's appearance was completely that of a woman, but Zhuang Ku instantly overlapped her with the man who had once stunned her. You are. There was a knock on the door, and then the door was pushed open from the outside. Ning, at the door, Lu Tingxiao looked at the two people lying on the bed. He was still in the posture of pushing the door open when he suddenly froze. Chapter 879. Zhuang Ku and Ningxi reflexively looked towards the door at the same time and saw Lu Tingxiao's pale face. Ningxi covered her face speechlessly. What the hell? What was with the déjà vu of catching an adulterer in bed? As if the magic time had been lifted, Ningxi switched from a prairie wolf to a domestic rabbit in a second. She climbed up and bounced to Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao, why are you here? Lu Tingxiao originally thought it would be difficult to explain this matter, so he was going to tell Zhuang Ku in person, but now it seemed that there was no need. Are you really him? Zhuang Ku stood up in a daze. She felt like she was dreaming. She was still immersed in the excitement of being caught off guard by her Prince Charming. She could still hear the deep and bewitching words, "Now, who am I?" ringing in her ears. Her heart was beating rapidly. It was clearly a girl in front of her. How could it be? How could it be? This was incredible. Looking at Zhuang Ku's naked eyes, Lu Tingxiao calmly pulled Ningxi behind him. Since the misunderstanding has been cleared up, then goodbye. After saying that, he directly pulled Ningxi downstairs, without any delay. Zhuang Ku looked anxious, but it was too late to stop him. She could only watch the idol she had been thinking about day and night being taken away by a wild man in just a few seconds. Outside the courtyard, Ningxi turned her head and looked in the direction of her car. Wait. Lu Tingxiao. I drove here. I will ask the driver to drive away. Oh, in the car. Lu Tingxiao didn't speak all the way. His thin lips were tight, and he was obviously angry, and very angry. Ningxi had a headache and pinched her eyebrows. Damn. Why did it seem like she was really caught in bed? Angry? Lu Tingxiao was silent. Well, you can't blame me. I'm just trying to clear your name, am I? If you hadn't kissed me in public that day, would Zhuang Ku have misunderstood that we were a couple? I was trying to clean up the mess for you. Otherwise, people would really think that you like men and are two-timing. Lu Tingxiao still didn't speak. Zhuang Ku is a girl, okay? Do you really want to be jealous of girls? Ningxi murmured. The next second, the light turned red. Ningxi felt that the backrest behind her suddenly fell down. Before she could react, the man's figure covered her from the driver's seat. His arms were on her side, and his eyes were shining. His tone was extremely dangerous. Yes, even if you are a woman, it's the same. As soon as he finished speaking, he kissed her lips ferociously. Do. The green light turned green, and a series of urging voices came from behind. Ningxi pushed the man and tried to get up. Hey! Green light! Who taught me not to mess around while driving? Lu Tingxiao's body didn't move at all. His arm touched a certain part of the car behind him, and he immediately kissed it again. Then, the car started to move on its own. Looking at the scenery outside the car gradually speeding up, Ningxi's eyes almost popped out. Shit. Self-driving? Did he install this thing after the last time? Amazing, my great demon king. Chapter 880. When they got home, Ningxi puffed up her cheeks and groaned. She was obviously unhappy. Lu Tingxiao looked deeply at the marks on the girl's fair neck caused by his loss of control. You don't like it? Ningxi nodded hard. How could he be jealous of a woman? If you saw me doing that with another man one day, would you be indifferent? Lu Tingxiao said lightly. You did that with another man? Ningxi imagined the scene and almost had a nosebleed. How could I be indifferent? Looking at the girl's excited face, she was obviously not jealous. Lu Tingxiao's eyes flashed with a trace of helplessness. Forget it. Ningxi looked at Lu Tingxiao's tired face and walked over to him with small steps. Are you angry? Lu Tingxiao glanced at her. If I was really angry with you, do you think I would still be alive? Why did it sound like she would piss him off? She was just impulsively making a little trouble, and accidentally flirting with a girl. Soon after Lu Tingxiao left, Ning she exercised for a while and was about to go to bed when her cell phone rang. She looked at the caller ID. It was Zhuang Ku. They had exchanged numbers before. Why was she calling so late at night? Ning she picked up the phone suspiciously. Hello, Ku? Xiaoxi, are you asleep? Did I disturb you? Zhuang Ku asked cautiously. It's okay, I haven't slept yet. Oh, Zhuang Ku just said oh and didn't say anything else. Ning she had to take the initiative to say, well, I'm sorry about what happened before. I made you misunderstand, Zhuang Ku said softly. There's nothing to apologize for. You didn't mean to deceive me. Instead, I should thank you. Thank you for helping me out. I always wanted to thank you in person. Hearing the girl's slightly nervous and shy tone, Ning she touched her nose and hurriedly coughed. It's okay, it's nothing. Well, Xiaoxi, are you free tomorrow? Zhuang Ku hesitated for a long time and finally asked. Tomorrow. I have to go to the company tomorrow. My agent has something to discuss with me. I'm not sure when he'll be done. Is there something you need? Ning she asked tentatively. It's nothing. It's nothing important. We should be considered friends now, right? You know, I don't have many friends. I just want to ask you to go shopping and eat something. If you don't have time, then forget it. Work is more important. Zhuang Ku stammered. Hearing that the girl was obviously very disappointed but pretended that it was okay, Ning she almost couldn't help but have a tender heart for the fairer sex and agree to everything on the spot. In the end, he tactfully said, let's play together when we have time. After saying this, the other end of the phone suddenly fell silent for a long time. Ning she frowned. Hello. Ku, are you still there? Xiaoxi, do you hate me? Zhuang Ku's voice trembled slightly. Ning she was startled when she heard the sobbing voice on the other end. She hurriedly said, how could it be? Why would you think that? Chapter 881. After all, Lu Tingxiao, at that time, we were even rivals in love, but now, I really don't have that kind of feeling towards Lu Tingxiao anymore. Believe me. Can you, don't hate me. Zhuang Ku was too anxious to explain, so she was almost incoherent. After all, she was used to being arrogant. She had probably never said anything like that to anyone before and she did not know how to make friends. One had to know that it was harder than ascending to the heavens to make a tsunda person confess their inner thoughts. At the same time, this also proved that she really cared about you. Ning she's heart softened. She said without thinking, Ku, I really don't hate you. On the contrary, I like you very much and I want to be friends with you. I do have something to do tomorrow and I'm not sure when I'll be done. How about the day after tomorrow? Let's go for dinner, go shopping and watch a movie. Really? Zhuang Ku said in an incredulous tone. Of course. I'll see you the day after tomorrow. It's a deal. Sure. After hanging up the phone, Ning she, who realized what she had done, wailed and fell on the bed. Fuck. Why can't I control myself again? Arth. I'm so tired. I can't resist cute girls at all. The next night, Ning she went straight to the Platinum Gold Palace after she was done with her work. She went to soothe the devil. Ning she cooked a scrumptious meal. After dinner, she took the initiative to wash the dishes. At night, after putting Little Bun to sleep, she seized the opportunity to go to Lu Tingxiao and massaged his shoulders and legs. Lu Tingxiao was sitting on the sofa. He looked like he was still focused on the documents in his hands. However, in reality, the girl was kneeling beside him. Her soft, boneless hands were massaging his thigh muscles with just the right amount of force. When she moved up, she would occasionally touch some sensitive parts. Even if he had great self-control, he would not be able to concentrate. Finally, Lu Tingxiao couldn't take it anymore. He pinched his eyebrows and threw away the documents in his hand. He grabbed the girl's wrist and lifted her up, instantly pulling her onto his lap. All right, tell me, what's the matter? Ning she sat on Lu Tingxiao's lap, blinked her eyes, and said weakly to her fingers, Boss, how did you know I had something to do? Lu Tingxiao glanced at her expressionlessly. You're unaccountably solicitous. Ningxi broke out in a sweat and said righteously, "What? No way. I'm not a traitor or a thief, okay?" Lu Tingxiao wrapped his arms around the girl and leaned back on the sofa in a relaxed manner. "What's that?" Ningxi tried to choose her words carefully. "Ahem, it's really nothing, it's just. I've made an appointment with Zhuangku to eat and go shopping tomorrow. If I remember correctly, I have an appointment with you." Lu Tingxiao's face darkened. Right. I'm sorry. I only thought of it when I agreed to it. But after I agreed to it, I really couldn't bring myself to say no. So, you can bring yourself to say yes to me? Lu Tingxiao's face was completely dark. Ningxi immediately hugged his neck and rubbed her cat-like head against his chin. "Of course I can bring myself to say yes to you. Zhuangku is an outsider and you're my wife. Don't you think we're friends?" Chapter 882. Ningxi said, "Zhuangku is an outsider, but you are my wife. Don't you think we're friends?" Lu Tingxiao. How could he say no? Lu Tingxiao kept a straight face and his thin lips were tightly pursed. His expression was frosty as he said, "Yes." Ningxi immediately bit the man's chin happily like a cat that had stolen a fish. "I know you love me the most, boss." Lu Tingxiao glanced at the girl's unruly behavior just because he liked her, and he felt helpless in his heart. He spoiled her so much. Who could he blame? However, thinking that her spoiled, willful and even unreasonable side belonged only to him, he was extremely satisfied. "You can see her, but you are not allowed to cross the line." Lu Tingxiao put forward the conditions seriously. Obviously, he was referring to the thing that she had done to Zhuangku in bed that day. Yes, don't worry, I won't. In fact, it's normal for girls to be intimate. Don't be so nervous, I don't like women. Ningxi said helplessly. Lu Tingxiao didn't speak but just glanced at her, obviously doubtful. Noticing Lu Tingxiao's obvious disbelief, Ningxi narrowed her eyes and pushed the man down on the sofa. She lowered her voice and said, "Don't you know whether I like men or women?" Lu Tingxiao held the back of the girl's head and kissed her hard. "I need to know more." The next day, Ningxi would rather arrive early than late for a date with a girl, so she arrived 20 minutes earlier. When she was about to arrive at the appointed place, she received a call from Zhuangku. On the other end of the phone, Zhuangku sounded a little anxious. "Xiaoxi, have you arrived?" "Yes, I just arrived." Ningxi answered. "Sorry, Xiaoxi, there seems to be a traffic accident ahead. The road is very congested. I'm afraid I'll be late." "I'm really sorry, it doesn't matter. I'll walk around nearby and wait for you." "Don't worry, take care. Safety is more important, okay?" Okay. After hanging up the phone, Ningxi wandered around the mall. This was the largest high-end shopping mall in the capital, with many luxury brands. Basically, all the big brands you could think of could be found here. On the contrary, the strength and reputation of a brand store that could appear here were definitely not low. As he was casually strolling around, he caught a glimpse of a shop opposite him that was decorated in an ancient style. Ningxi stood in front of the store and couldn't help but stop. This was History's new store. Looking up at the history sign above her head, Ningxi felt a little emotional. Although her studio had begun to make profits, it still mainly received private orders. At present, there was not a single brand store. With the purpose of learning and investigating, Ningxi was ready to go in for a stroll. "Welcome to History." The sweet voice of the shop assistant came from inside. "Miss, what style would you like to buy?" A shop assistant enthusiastically came over to serve her. Ningxi pushed up her sunglasses. "Just walk around. Don't worry about me." "Alright, if you need anything, please feel free to call me." "Yes." After all, this was Century City, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold. History's store had obviously been renovated at a high price. From the inside to the outside, it exuded high-end luxury. In order to match the style of the clothing, the decoration style was also Chinese, using flower and bird screens, mahogany chairs, rattan sofas, antique vases, and other furnishings, giving people a feeling of transmigration. Chapter 883. Of course, the most important thing was the clothes. Zhuangkua hadn't come and Ningxi was too focused on her research to notice the time. Seeing that Ningxi didn't want to buy it after looking at it for so long, the shop assistant was a little unhappy. She looked Ningxi up and down and her face became even more unfriendly. Miss, today is the weekend and it's the peak time. There are many customers in the store. If you don't want to buy it, can you go somewhere else? Don't disturb our business. Ningxi was about to speak when the shop assistant suddenly looked past her and walked towards the door enthusiastically. Miss Ying, Miss Jin, please come in. You've come at the right time. We have a new batch of goods today. You must like it. Ningxi subconsciously turned around and saw Ning Xueluo's two close friends, Ying Fanglin and Jin Shenxian. The shop assistant knew that these two were Ning Xueluo's good friends and were rich young ladies with great purchasing power, so she was very enthusiastic. Ying Fanglin saw Ningxi in the store and looked at her as if she was a fly. Xiao Chen, why do you serve all kinds of people? What happened just now? Jin Shenxian asked. The shop assistant took a look at Ningxi. Miss, do you know her? She looked at it for a long time and didn't buy it. And she was wearing Ziling's clothes. I suspected that she was deliberately looking for trouble, so I was persuading her to go somewhere else. Ningxi was a little amused. Couldn't she enter a Hermes store because she was wearing Chanel's clothes? However, this gave her a piece of information. It seemed that the insiders of history were keeping a close eye on Ziling, to the point of guarding her to the death. Otherwise, it would be impossible for even a shop assistant to be so hostile to Ziling, to the point of being able to recognize the clothes she was wearing at a glance. Ying Fanglin crossed her arms and said sarcastically, "Oh, people like her who can't afford high-end goods and can only buy cheap imitations are just looking for trouble." Jin Shenxian seemed to suddenly think of something and said in an exaggerated tone, "Oh, Ningxi, where's your black card?" "Yes, didn't you do a good job last time? Why don't you take it out now?" "Why? Dumped. What are you talking about?" "Hey, Ningxi, you're here too." Ning Shui walked in from outside. "Miss." The employees in the store greeted Ning Xueluo when they saw her. Ying Fanglin walked over and held Ning Xueluo's arm intimately. "Xueluo, you're here. This woman is like a haunting ghost. How dare she come and tarnish your store?" Ning Xueluo said gently, "Fanglin, don't say that. He's a customer and our service motto is that the customer is God. We still have to see what kind of customers they are. After all, you're a high-end brand. If customers see that these riffraff people are also buying your brand, it's going to ruin your brand." At this moment, a voice suddenly came from behind. This, wrap all of these up for me." Hearing the familiar voice, Ningxi subconsciously raised her head and saw Zhuangkua standing there with a cold face, pointing to a row of clothes and saying to the shop assistant, Okay, I'll help you pack it up. Do you want all of these?" The receptionist didn't expect that before she could say a word, such a big order suddenly fell on her. She was immediately excited. "Yes, all of them. Miss Zhuang." Seeing her, Ning Xueluo's eyes suddenly lit up. She directly left Ningxi and the others and took the initiative to go forward. "I didn't expect that Miss Zhuang also likes history's clothes. What an honor." Chapter 884. Who are you? Zhuangkua looked arrogantly at the woman who suddenly came to talk to her. "Miss, this is the boss of our store." The shop assistant hurriedly introduced. "Miss Zhuang, my surname is Ning. This is my business card." Ning Xueluo handed over a business card, then looked at the shop assistant and said directly, "Miss Zhuang, these clothes are free of charge." Zhuangkua frowned slightly. "What do you mean, boss?" Ning Xueluo smiled. "It's our honor that Miss Zhuang likes history's clothes. These clothes are a little token of my appreciation. Seeing that our clothes can be worn by the people who are most suitable for it, this makes me happier than making profit." At this time, Ying Fanglin and Jin Shenxian were whispering, "Miss Zhuang." "Which Miss Zhuang? There are so many clothes. They add up to hundreds of thousands, and Xueluo actually gave them away. Surname Zhuang. Could she be the daughter of General Zhuang's family in the capital?" Jin Shenxian thought and came forward to talk to her. "Miss Zhuang, no wonder you like history's clothes. You have such a classical temperament, wearing this style of clothes is perfect. Thinking of the opportunity to get to know the daughter of the capital's top aristocratic family, Ying Fanglin naturally did not want to be outdone. Yes, especially this white one, it's especially suitable for you. There are some other new styles in the store, would Miss Zhuang like to try? At this time, Ningxi had been completely squeezed behind by a few people. Seeing that Zhuang Kuo was buying clothes, she could not leave directly, so she sat down on the sofa, thinking that they would leave together after Zhuang Kuo bought the clothes. At this time, the shop assistant who had just served Ningxi saw that Ningxi was still here and refused to leave. Especially when he thought that when he was arguing with Ningxi just now, he caused such a big order for Zhuang Kuo to be snatched away by someone else. However, at this time, there was a distinguished guest, so it was not good for her to chase her away. She could only stare at her with disdain. Ningxi, on the other hand, was calm, holding her chin and looking in Zhuang Kuo's direction, like a man waiting for his girlfriend to buy clothes. After a long while, Zhuang Kuo finally bought the clothes. Miss Zhuang, your clothes are all packed. The shop assistant sorted out the big and small bags of clothes one by one. Okay. Zhuang Kuo nodded. Ning Xueluo glanced at the clothes and said considerately, they seem to be a little heavy. Miss Zhuang, I'll have someone send them directly to your residence. No need. Zhuang Kuo directly refused. Also, thank you for your kindness. However, there is no need for a free bill. Ning Xueluo's original intention was to make friends with Zhuang Kuo. She had achieved her goal after chatting for a while. She knew that Zhuang Kuo would not easily accept gifts from others, so she did not insist and asked the shop assistant to give her a discount. Welcome back, Miss Zhuang. If there is the latest model next time, I will ask the shop assistant to keep it for you. Ning Xueluo was about to send her out, but Zhuang Kuo, who had paid the bill, did not walk out. Instead, she walked straight behind them. Xiaoxi, have you bought it? She looked up and asked with a smile. Zhuang Kuo nodded repeatedly, and then suddenly stuffed all the big and small bags in her hands in front of Ningxi. Here you go. Ah! Ningxi was stunned for a moment. For me. Zhuang Kuo seemed to be a little embarrassed and pursed her lips. Her watery eyes were unusually bright, with a trace of childlike expectation for praise. Yes, for you. Don't you like this brand of clothes? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.